And on the Fanatic Forum, we'll delve into what's the next big event for Marvel Comics. Plus, I've got some new books to share with you guys, and we'll do all that right after this. Hey everybody, happy Friday and welcome to the Fanatic Forum. I'm your Fanatic and host, George Buehler. Hope you all had a good week so far. I had a fun weekend last weekend. Of course, I spoke about both having the E-Town Con and the Creature Feature both in town last weekend. And that was good times there. Both cons are well attended there. So, it was nice to kind of get a little bit of a crowd like that again. So it was good times. Plus, of course, last weekend at the 3 Decade Arcade, they had their Halloween party, and we had a Splatterhouse tournament. If you don't remember that, it was an old, I think it's an old Namco game. Originally came out in the States, I believe, on the TurboGrafx 16 system. The whole premise of Splatterhouse is basically you and your girlfriend are paranormal investigators, and you go into this spooky house, and you're immediately attacked when you go inside by creatures, whatever else. When you wake up, girlfriend is gone, and you have this like weird Aztecian sort of mask. Back in the day, the old graphics kind of made it look very much like a Friday the 13th Jason hockey mask, but it was supposed to be some sort of Aztec power mask. And you now have superhuman strength, and you're going through and fighting monsters and demons and whatever else, trying to rescue your girlfriend and get out alive. Very kind of cartoonish horror and whatnot. But back in the early 90s when it came out, I think it was even earlier than that. It was like 88 or now. Anyway, when it originally came out, it was a little controversial when it hit the States because of the horror-related gore and whatever else. And so it was, got, some bans and yada this and whatever else. And parents, raged a fit over it. But then, a few short years later, Mortal Kombat comes out and says, "Here, hold my beer." Anyway, but Splatterhouse is always a favorite of mine. Being a horror fan, we didn't have very many games within the genre, especially good ones. So this was a bright spot. Love that. But as the tournament went, there was a very, very clear winner. Some gentleman came in who was very much a fan of the game, knew a lot more of the lore than I ever did. I knew like the basic plot of the game, and he knew like what the characters' actual names were. I think it was like Rick and Jennifer, and going into all this other stuff. Anyway, his first playthrough, just popping in 50 cents. His first playthrough in one game, he beats the game, which was cool. I haven't seen the end of the game in like about 20 some odd years, so it was kind of neat to see that. But he gets like 240 some odd thousand points, right? Second playthrough that he does, because everybody gets 2 runs. Same thing, beats it all again in 1 run, and gets an additional 40,000 points. He said he's kind of doing like shorter runs apparently, but there's some longer paths you can go down in certain parts of the game. And so apparently like some people have gotten close to like 600,000 points, I think, like some world records, whatnot. So that's crazy, but well beyond what I can do. I like playing for fun. I'm not much of a competitive player like that. So I haven't even, I don't know what my high score is on there, but nonetheless, it was fun hosting the tournament, and there were several other players who came up there. But and even though there was a couple of impressive people, there was a young couple who came up, and the fella, he did pretty good. First time ever playing, he got like 6,000 or 7,000 his first 2 runs there, and then his lady friend who also had never touched the game before, she did like 8,000 in her first run and almost 10,000 in her second run. I'm like, respect, young lady. Yeah, it's like for never touching the game before. That's pretty good. So yeah, so it was it was impressive. It was just a lot of fun just hanging out there. I love that place. So yeah, it was good times there. So nice way to spend Halloween. Hope you guys had a lovely Halloween as well. Had all kinds of little ghosts and goblins and whatnot visiting you, getting the candy and all that good stuff. And hope you saw some good horror movies, all that kind of good thing there. Let's see, there was oh gosh, I'm trying to think of the Dead Streams. Yeah, Dead Streams. It was on Shudder. It was recommended to me over my friends at Movie Meltdown, the horror club. Which, by the way, if you guys are big horror movie fans, Movie Meltdown, who I've plugged many times on the show, also has a Patreon group called the Horror Club, which basically they have special episodes once a month. They specifically talk about a horror movie, and of course, you get if you depending on how much you contribute, you get a lot of little bonuses and stuff like that too. And you can also recommend movies for them to talk about, all sorts of stuff like that. So anyway, one of my friends over at Movie Meltdown recommended Dead Streams, and it's a lot of fun. It's very much a horror comedy sort of thing like that, but the whole thing is that there is a like a social media influencer, and he screws up big time and kind of is seen as kind of like a a-hole or whatever else. And so to make up to his followers, he's going to do a live stream from this place that's supposed to be like a haunted house or whatever else. And but so madness and insanity and all kinds of things, and mirth and mayhem ensue from there. But it's some really good horror fun there. Very low budget sort of stuff like that, but they do a good job with their low budget. So I think they make effective use of it, and it does kind of feel like one of those found footage sort of movies, because basically since the person's live streaming, everything's going to be either like from his point of view or from the point of view of either like a handheld camera or one of his cameras he's got like on a like a little rig he's got attached to him or whatever else. So either way, but it's effective usage of all the found footage, handheld sort of camera usage, and it's a lot of fun again. So it's I recommend checking out Deadstream. So sorry, I couldn't remember the name of it for a second there. But yeah, of course, I watched some other childhood favorites as well on Halloween. The Charlie Brown Halloween, the Great Pumpkin, it's Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and then Garfield Halloween. Yeah, those are my two go-tos. And already watched my old school Trick or Treat movie already. So I always I respect all my fans out there who enjoy Trick or Treat as well. As we are few, but nonetheless love that movie. Anywho, so I got some new books for you guys this week to check out here. So and one other thing here, I'm taking a page out of John Pica from back in the cereal box, but I did get a little bit of new loot today when I had to stop my local Walgreens. But I finally got a Baron Zemo Marvel Legends. Walgreens has two exclusive Marvel Legends figures. They have this one, and they have Quasar, the old school Wendell Vaughn Quasar. And awesome figure here. That's great. Got different hand molds there, and it was the sword, for dueling with Captain America. So this is the old school Zemo. I just always love that look for him. It's very, very unique for a villain, sort of character, but good stuff anyway. All right, so got a couple of good Marvel reads here this week. First off, a new #1 here. Ryan North is the writer on this one here, but this is a new Secret Invasion title. This is somewhat of a sequel, kind of still using the same moniker of Secret Invasion, doing with a Skrull invasion, but this is a bit of a different storyline than the classic one. Not sure if this is kind of what we may see a little bit from the upcoming series next year, or if this is kind of just doing a different storyline. This may lead to further things down the line here. Either way, intriguing storyline, kind of a little bit different sort of thing here with the Skrull, different device. I don't want to give away too much here, because there, of course, are a lot of surprises in this. Kind of deals with that, but our main heroes so far, we're dealing with, of course, Tony Stark, Maria Hill, and of course Nick Fury, or Nick Fury Jr. if you prefer. Definitely worth checking out here. I'm very intrigued. Go check out the second issue and beyond here, but a good start nonetheless here. I've been singing the praises of this book from the beginning here. The new issue did not disappoint. Issue 4 of Predator here by Ed Brisson and Kev Walker. Also, Frank Darmata. Can't forget him because great colors and inking on here. But this has just been a tremendously fun book for Predator fans, or even if you've never seen any of the movies. This is just really good, monster hunting, kind of stuff like that. Great revenge story, whatever else. Because really the big key for any kind of story when it comes to Predator or aliens is you got to have the kind of the human connection. You got to make us care about somebody in the book, because the Predators and the aliens, they can't talk. So yeah, great job of doing a main character we care about, a good story, a good reason, and then throwing a couple loops in there to make it fun for us. But yeah, so highly recommend checking this series out if you have not. Another one I've also been singing the praises of is this new Punisher series here, with basically the Punisher being the general of the hand now, kind of the fist of the beast per se. And of course, yeah, this has been an interesting, run so far, because Punisher's really been towing the line of becoming a villain himself. Because while he's been instructing the hand that they can only go out and kill bad guys and kill mafia or other supervillains or whatever else, the hand is obviously manipulating him into basically becoming something far more deadly, something more on the lines of supernatural sort of stuff like that. Finally, an old kind of foil, ally sometimes also adversary, being Daredevil, comes along here, and basically last issue he kind of wanted to start a conversation with Frank, because what the F, you're now leading this organization that I've been opposed to almost my entire superhero career. What's going on here? And so, of course, fighting ensues and whatever else. This is definitely kind of beginning of a turn for Frank here. Maybe even full-on corruption, perhaps. So, yeah, a good fight nonetheless, and some good drama in here. Of course, some more interesting kind of backstory stuff on Frank and kind of his childhood and kind of the parts we've never seen before. Frank's background before he became the Punisher, specifically when he first came home from the war. So kind of dealing with some PTSD sort of thing, but never quite dealing with it in a healthy sort of way, or never getting any sort of therapy for it or whatever else. So this may have all been a series of events that led to him becoming the Punisher and kind of being okay with that. So yeah, good stuff in here. Very highly recommend this one. Of course, this has been Jason Aaron as well on this one here, and so he's been doing some really cool stuff. We're going to be talking about what he's got coming up in the future here for the Avengers in a little bit. We've got another number one here, one offered from DC this week here. This is Batman and the Joker, the Deadly Duo. Yes, shocker, I know, another Batman book from DC, but this is actually really cool. First off, this is the legendary Mark Silvestri. He is drawing and writing this issue, or these miniseries, I should say. And then Arif Prianto is coming in and doing the color on here. So the art on the front cover here is basically what you were seeing in the rest of the book as well. So Silvestri has a very defined style. Loved him since basically the late 80s, 90s sort of stuff here. Of course, he did X-Men back in the day, did lots of other great books. I always loved Cyberforce back in the 90s when he first came on Image. So yeah, very great pedigree, very cool stuff here. The plot of this particular book is that there are some grisly murders going on in Gotham that seem to be related to the Joker, but maybe it actually isn't the Joker. It's something or someone that has stolen his DNA. And so the result of things here is that perhaps we are going to have these two adversaries actually team up for once. So they're not the dynamic duo or whatever else, they're the deadly duo. But yeah, actually a fun series, well written here. Of course, Harley Quinn, as you see on the front cover here, is all over this issue as well. Plus some of the other Bat family are in this as well. So again, a lot of fun if you're a Bat fan here. A fun mini series here. And of course, like I said, this is a little self-contained sort of thing here, not leading into regular canon, so to speak. But yeah, a good miniseries start nonetheless here. So will definitely check it out as it goes along. Lots of variant covers in there. There is a connecting two variant covers that Greg Capullo did. One's got Batman, one's got Joker on it, but it's his usual style. And I did pick up the Batman one because I'm a sucker for Capullo Batman art. The fun thing that DC is doing this month, and probably maybe a little bit further, I'm not sure how much longer they're going to do it, but they're doing kind of a 90s flashback. So there's going to be some variant covers of all the DC books that have very 90s style of art to their front covers. And the other fun thing they're doing is that they're going back and doing foil covers, like they're completely like chromium foil covers, like they used to do back in the day that everybody went scrambling for and thought they're going to be all very, sought after and whatever else, and turns out maybe and not so much, but nonetheless here, so there's just kind of a nice fun throwback there, and the neat thing is actually those foil covers are going quick, so check your local comic shop to see if any of them are going to be available or not. But yeah, nonetheless, some fun throwback. There's more to come, but there's already been some Batman ones. Joker's got his own a new title out, and there's a chromium cover for him. It's all green. The Wildcats are getting their own book coming up, I think next week. They've got a chromium cover, so yeah, all kinds of '90s fun for coming out of DC here. So yeah, good stuff here. All right, some independents here. Of course, we've got one from Boom. Of course, they have just been killing it lately with books, and they've got another one here that's very intriguing. I'm going to be checking out the second issue. This is called Behold Behemoth, written by Tate Bromwell and drawn by Nick Robles. Very kind of, hinting maybe like kind of an end of the world, apocalyptic sort of, biblical, sort of flavor to things here. A great, beast coming here. If you guys see the back cover, kind of giving an indication here, this, great behemoth thing, big red eyes, whatever else sort of stuff here. Very scary looking stuff here, but great art throughout here. Just, really cool stuff here. Very, very much the book is sort of playing with the reader and the protagonist as to what is real, what isn't. He's kind of gone through some trauma in his life. He's on some new medication that may or may not be messing with him. So we don't exactly know what's real, what isn't. Up there. So anyway, the main character is a social worker, and he goes and checks up on kids that are in foster care or have been adopted or whatever else, just to make sure things are okay. And seeing as he himself has had a history of trauma in his life and abuse, he's very sensitive to that, very in tune, and maybe he essentially runs across a girl who maybe is going through some abuse here, but some strange events seem to be happening around this girl. Maybe she's sort of causing these things inadvertently, whatever else, and maybe connected to what's to come, because we're kind of dealing with the then and now sort of thing, and the then is kind of what we are, normal life as we are now, and when we get to the now things in here, well, things get a little, you get a little bleak here. So, yeah, it's like I said, an interesting first issue there. I'm intrigued to see what's more here. So it's a nice kind of creepy dread sort of feel to it, but an interesting end of the world thing having very biblical sort of tones to it. So, nice change of pace for some of the usual supernatural stuff I've been reading there. But one of the other supernatural things I've been reading that I highly recommend, issue 2 here of Night of the Ghoul, and I love this front cover. This is awesome here. This is Scott Snyder doing the writing on here, and then also Francesco Francavilla doing the artwork. And just this book is amazing. If you didn't hear last time when I talked about the first issue, this is based around a kind of forgotten film of the perhaps the classic golden age of horror movies, around the Universal times. But Night of the Ghoul supposedly was a film that featured a character, the Ghoul, that was the ultimate monster or whatever else. But the film apparently was lost to time. Maybe it was lost to some sort of conspiracy, some strange going ons, whatever else. But a gentleman who is a film preservist, or kind of, he does a lot of transfers of film to digital, sort of thing like that. He's been on the hunt for the truth and possibly to get this film to the public to see what it is, and has definitely stumbled upon a greater conspiracy going on here. So maybe the Ghoul is actually a real thing, and perhaps the movie wasn't so much as a scary movie as it was a warning. So yeah, very intriguing stuff here. Of course, I talked about last time that Night of the Ghoul has already been picked up by Warner Brothers to be made into a film. So there you go. But this is the second issue of a 3-issue series. So definitely highly recommend picking this one up here. And the thing I love about this is that Francesco's art in the modern day is this kind of very stylized throwback sort of horror art here. But then also when they are basically showing excerpts of the film, it's in this very classic black and white here. Very kind of, so you get almost two different art styles within the same book. When you turn to a page here, oh, here we go. It's a nice gruesome scene here. There you go. So, yeah, just wonderful, wonderful art here. If you're very much a Bernie Wrightson fan, sort of, thing there is what I always kind of compare Francesco's art to. It's very reminiscent of that, but he kind of does his own thing, obviously. Great use of color as well. So yeah, highly recommend that one if you want to go for some classic horror there. So definitely want to check that one out. Last but not least here, going completely the opposite direction, we're in a little comedy here, but we've got from Dark Horse Comics, Quick Stops, and this is from the Kevin Smith View Askew verse here. And this was a nice, fun issue here. Of course, Kevin's the writer on here, and Jeremy Simser is the artist on here. Andrew Thomas does the inks. And this is cool because it's a black and white comic here. So very kind of throwback to Clerks here, the OG there. But this because it kind of covers a little bit of ground of some of the between the cracks of some of the movies here, because this is definitely a post Chasing Amy film, but it references the characters from there, and then it's kind of post behind the cracks of Jane Silent Bob Strike Back, and also the Jane Silent Bob reboot as well. So you kind of a nice way of connecting all three of those movies together here, but maybe a little bit of Mallrats as well. But yeah. So if you're definitely a fan of the Kevin Smith View Askew verse here and the characters within, this is a fun book here. I'm not sure how many issues this is running. I know this is at least 3 issues. I think maybe it's going to be 4. I'm not sure. It's either 4 or 5. But yeah, nonetheless, so each book is going to kind of go around different areas. I think there's the next issue has on movies on the cover, so that's probably going to be maybe Clerks 2, sort of around that neighborhood perhaps. So yeah, nonetheless here. So again, if you're a fan of the Kevin Smith stuff there, so it's definitely worth a look, and there's some good genuine laughs in the book as well. So that's important, because if you're not actually laughing when you're reading a comedy book, then what are you doing there? So you're wasting your time. All right, we're going to take a break here real quick to acknowledge our sponsor, and then we'll be right back, and we're going to be talking some Marvel comic stuff. So we'll see you in a bit.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.
All right, and we're back here. All right, so as we talk about in the show here, we're talking about what the next big event is for Marvel Comics. Because, of course, right now over at DC, they're still doing the Dark Crisis event. We're getting close to the end of that, but there's going to be some big shuffling around, big changes of things going on going into next year. So they haven't announced anything going on beyond that right now. There's been some miniseries and little things here and there, but as for regular DC continuity and the big stuff going on, everything else is on pause until After Dark Crisis is over. So, but over in Marvel Comics, on the other hand, New York Comic Con had lots of announcements for what's coming up for the last couple of months of this year, and then already going into next year, even going into the summer and fall. So, lots of stuff to look forward to, no matter what side of the Marvel Universe you were a fan of here. So, here's the big graphic here showing us the next few events coming up. Avengers Assemble is our most recent event coming up here starting in November. So actually, this is this month right now. So I think the next issue of Avengers starts, it's either, take it back. Couple of weeks. That's what it starts in a couple of weeks here. So there's an alpha issue coming out that's kind of kicking things off. And then most of the action is basically going to be taking place within the confines of the Avengers title proper and also Avengers Forever. But this is, of course, all culminating Jason Aaron's run on Avengers. He'll be ending his run as soon as this storyline is all over. But the main focus on this one has been all about the kind of the multiversal masters of evil being assembled by Mephisto and the ultimate Doctor Doom. Apparently there's been like the greatest Doctor Doom in all of the multiverse has assembled all these horrible versions of classic Marvel villains that may be slightly changed, slightly different here and there, but nonetheless a very big bunch of bad guys. And so in response to that, the Avengers have traversed the multiverse, finding alternate versions of themselves, gathering an army that's going to be able to face, because Mephisto has assembled quite a large group of people to basically just erase the Avengers entirely from the multiverse, from continuity itself, because we are basically dealing with kind of Avengers throughout the multiverse, as I said, but also we're dealing with the Avengers of 1 million BC. This is basically where the origin of the Avengers is. And of course, that includes the original Phoenix. It includes Odin. It includes Dormammu himself. Not Dormammu. Agamotto, yeah, I'm sorry. Get my Doctor Strange stuff confused here, but Agamotto himself is included in this group here. The original Starbrand, the original Ghost Rider, but actually he's writing more of a woolly mammoth sort of thing. But essentially the original Iron Fist as well. So again, the Avengers of the 1 million BC era have all assembled with the modern day and with the multiversal Avengers to take out this group here. So it's going to be a big to-do. Lots of heroes and villains fighting things here. So, I'm looking forward to it. Some people have, really enjoyed Jason Aaron's run on Avengers. Some have not, because basically this has been a very epic storyline. I mean, he started, the kind of the beginnings of this storyline of kind of the assembly and introduction of some of these, heroes and villains that we need to know about. Let's see, about maybe 6-9 months ago. So it's been quite some, several issues already have been kind of being the lead up to Avengers Assemble. And then now we'll get into the parts itself. So, so again, I've enjoyed it. It's been very big, very epic sort of stuff here, but that's kind of what I like about the Avengers. I like big, epic things. But of course, I am sad to see that, of course, when this all wraps up again, Jason Aaron is leaving the book. So we'll have a new creative team after Avengers Assemble wraps up. So I don't know what that is or who's on the group, but as soon as I know, I'll definitely pass it on to you guys here. All right, so our next big event coming up in December for Spider-Man fans is Dark Web. And of course, this was ground was laid for this in the last big Spider-Man event, the Spider-Man Beyond, which involved the Spider-Man clone Ben Reilly taking over for Peter Parker when he was injured and out of commission for a while. And then basically when Peter came back, there were 2 Spider-Men for a little bit, and then that didn't work out because basically the Beyond Corporation had been messing with Ben Reilly's memories and whatever else, and so causing some rather odd personality changes and taking away the fundamental things that essentially made him Spider-Man. And what was left is a creature by the name of Chasm. So Ben's still somewhat Ben, but he's definitely twisted now. So, and he's got a different power set as well. So, what Dark Web is that he is teamed up with the classic X-Men villain, Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen. So, yeah, the two worst clones in the Marvel Universe have now hooked up. Yikes! So looks like it's going to be kind of a little bit of a supernatural kind of feel to this one as well. But we're going to see Spider-Man teaming up with the X-Men. So yeah, that should be a lot of fun. Of course, Spider-Man's got a lot of things going on because we've got a whole Spider-Verse thing that's going on right now over in the singularly titled Spider-Man comic, and so the Edge of the Spider-Verse anthology series as well. So yeah, all kinds of that stuff going on, and they've got Dark Web going up here. So yeah, Spidey's a busy dude. All right, so next big event coming up for next year for X-Men fans, Sins of Sinister. And this one's going to be kind of cool. This one, of course, very much surrounding Mr. Sinister, because if you've been reading the X-Men books, that while that supposedly all the mutants are kind of one big happy family. We're all together. We're all living on Krakoa, and we're, able to teleport and transport, through our, flower gates to go all sorts of different places. We can go to Mars now, we terraform, all the crazy stuff that is happening in the X-Men books in the last couple of years. While Mr. Sinister is somewhat welcome, he's also been still being Mr. Sinister, which that means messing around with genetics, with things, tampering around with mutants' powers and whatever else. And then also now he's been tampering in timelines. How he got access to timelines, I'm not 100% sure. But I think that's being in the Immortal X-Men comic and Legion of X. So there's all this kind of kicking off from. But what we are left with in Sins of Sinister is another timeline kind of set in the future where basically everything is broken. Very similar to the classic Age of Apocalypse or Age of X storylines, where we get kind of a ravaged future. Our characters are fundamentally changed or twisted in some way, shape, or form, and there's somebody behind it all. In this case, it's Mr. Sinister. So this could be interesting. I've always been a big fan of Sinister as a villain. So he's, a nice kind of, he's not a very active sort of guy. He's a behind the scenes kind of guy. He's a manipulator and, meddler and all that sort of stuff like that. So, so interesting to see how that'll work out. So I'm my curiosity is piqued, but that's going to be starting in January, so we've got that to look forward to. Coming up next in the spring, Captain America Cold War. I'm looking forward to this one. This is basically going to be a crossover of both the Captain America books right now, because, of course, Steve Rogers has Sentinel of Liberty, and Sam Wilson has Symbol of Truth right now. And both those books, of course, while they're not necessarily connected, I get a feeling they're obviously going to be connected for this miniseries here. Sam, of course, has been dealing with some people who are essentially, somehow getting access to Wakanda and then stealing vibranium and then using it for criminal acts and lots of other bad stuff. But in the process that Sam has been trying to take these bad guys down, he has really irritated T'Challa and all the other things going on in Wakanda, because right now things are a little bit rough because T'Challa is not king in the books, and he's, again, irritated. This is the second time that T'Challa has been stripped of his own throne, or maybe more than that. I'm not sure, but it's the second time I can at least think of where T'Challa's been stripped of his own throne, and we're in one of those moments right now. But he's still acting as Black Panther nonetheless. But Sam has irritated that, so there's probably some more to that, I'm sure. But we're kind of part of the way through that, so we've still got a while, before we kind of build up to what's going on with that. As now to what's been going on over with Steve Rogers, on the other hand, there has been this new villain group by the name of the Outer Circle. The Outer Circle, essentially, their symbol is the symbol of Steve's shield itself. They are the ones who they are, again, the Outer Circle that controls everything that goes on in the world. They control the money, the power, the fame, the everything, that makes the world turn. And their original plan was that basically Steve Rogers, Captain America, was going to be their guy. He was, he would do their bidding, and he was their perfect soldier and whatever else. And it obviously didn't work out that way because there's people, trying to work against the Outer Circle. And of course, Steve's finding out all this origin much years later. And then also finds out that basically Bucky has been involved in this as well because while the Outer Circle is, like the main part of the shield, what is also a part of the shield is the star, mainly the points of the star. So there are apparently 5 super assassins that are kind of planted throughout the world that are kind of under the employ of the Outer Circle. And basically, if their guy or their way isn't done, then the 5 points go out and do what needs to be done, kind of wrap things up in a sort of, bloody mess sort of thing. So we're finding all this stuff out now in Steve's book. But again, this is all going to culminate into a crossover, which I'm sure is, dealing with a lot of these, world-ending events here and some, major powers at play. But also we're seeing the return of the new Nomad, Ian Rogers. This is the son of Steve Rogers. That basically, if you didn't read the Rick Remeter's run on Captain America several years back, Cap was put in kind of this, futuristic timeline and kind of abandoned there by Arnim Zola, where Arnim basically controlled the future. And so, no one remembered the superheroes or whatever else. So Captain kind of acted as a symbol of liberty once again to free everybody from the clutches of Arnim Zola. But since he was there for a very, very long time, with Sharon Carter, what ended up happening was they consummated and had a son, and that son is Ian. And Ian basically, when they were there so long, he grew to be a young adult and fought alongside of them. So when Sharon and Steve eventually came back to the normal world, there was some process that went on that kind of, they kind of de-aged them a little bit, but yeah, they had, when they basically came back, they were originally old people. So it's crazy comic book stuff here. But yeah, essentially, Steve and Sharon were stuck in this alternate future for, what seemed like almost 30 years to them. And maybe it wasn't necessarily that long. So, but a great run if you want to look up Rick Remeter's run of Captain America. But that's where Ian comes from. We haven't seen him in a long time, so nice to see him come back to the Marvel Comics here. So next event coming up in the summer. We know very little about this one here, but this is the Summer of Symbiotes coming up in the summer of 2023. Oh, yes, dear, come here. Dear Land wants to come up and say hello to everybody here. So say hello to the peoples. Yeah, so we know very little about Summer of Symbiotes right now, other than it's going to be taking place within the Venom and Carnage books. But of course, we're going to be introduced to a lot of new characters, both good and evil, new symbiote characters. So, lots of stuff to expect from there. But again, not too sure of any of the details because this is, way out into the summertime. So, don't know from there. And we'll jump here real quick. Last but not least, our last event coming up, the Fall of X. Again, also coming in the summer of 2023. And, a missed opportunity that's not coming in the fall, but there you go. The Fall of X coming in the summer of 2023. This one, sorry. All right. But this one, again, know very little about this one here, but the premise is, of course, going into the kind of current continuity of the X-Men. You're seeing kind of their salad days right now. They are all living on the island of Krakoa together, which is again is a mutant island. So this a bunch of mutants living on a giant mutant. So there you go, wrap your head around that one there. Nonetheless, but they're seeing a new age of prominence they haven't seen before. While yes, they are still hated and feared by some fringe groups, for the most part, they're fairly accepted and becoming a bit of a world power themselves. But maybe at this point, they I guess all good things come to an end. So, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure again, what's going on in here, but it's kind of the loosely what's going on for Fall of X. But yeah, coming up in the summer of 2023. So yeah, it's again, don't know too much about what's going on there, but it's if you've been reading, of course, starting with the Jonathan Hickman run, and then kind of going into what's I think Jerry Duggan has been running it right now, but carrying on the current continuity, you've been kind of waiting for this almost, because we're seeing some great times, some good times here, and we've terraformed Mars. We're having those big galas that they've been having, where everybody is dressed in big fancy ball gowns and stuff like that. So the mutants are having some good days, but again, that all has to come to an end. So we'll see what that's all about. So lots of good stuff to look forward to in Marvel Comics. Of course, like I said, DC is full on to the Dark Crisis, where it's getting close to the end. So I'm sure we'll find out what's coming for the future of DC after that. But right now, we don't know anything. So over in Independence, I know in the Massive Verse, of course, that includes like Radiant Black, Radiant Red, Rogue Sun, Dead Lucky, several other books. There's some new ones coming out. Inferno Girl Red's coming out pretty soon. There might be an event brewing in the near future on that one. So, of course, coming up, I think, in a couple of weeks, the 300th issue of G.I. Joe and the final issue for IDW and possibly for Larry Hama. No official word yet if he's going to the new book, which I've heard now is going to Image Comics. So Image got the rights to, I believe, G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Usagi Yojimbo. They were all three with IDW for years. And so now they're leaving and going over to Image. So I'm curious to see if Larry's going to go with the G.I. Joe book. Fingers crossed he does. But we'll see there. Because, Image did a decent run for a while with Image, with G.I. Joe, originally, of course, G.I. Joe was with Marvel for, a number of years doing, I couldn't remember how many issues. Well over 150 issues, maybe close to like 160 something issues in the original run. And then Image Comics and a small imprint called Devil's Due, who was producing the books. They had a decent run, it was a bit of a sequel to the series, but trying to do some new things. The Joes had all sort of split up and doing different things. Some had retired, some had gone to different forms of government. And so, it was a reuniting of the team to go and fight Cobra, sort of thing like that. But that was written by Josh Blaylock. So enjoyed that series. That was some good stuff out of there. And actually produced some new figures as well. But then when IDW took over the book, they brought Larry Hama back, and he literally began his run from where he ended in Marvel. So yeah, that was a great thing there. Bringing that back in source, he has had some fantastic storylines, including killing off the original Snake Eyes. No one thought it would actually happen, but he did it. Even though we have a replacement Snake Eyes, but it was the way they did it with killing off the original and then having the new Snake Eyes. Everything made sense. The fans accepted it, and we were all okay about it. But we've had some really cool stories. There was like Cobra Civil War was a good one there. We had recently had a supposed invasion of the pit, where Cobra was basically stationed around, thinking they were, had the jump on the Joes, and it was, that was a good fight there. But this last run involves Dr. Mindbender going back to the old Serpentor drawing board of trying to create a new leader for Cobra and doing the whole genetic thing and, using world leaders, that sort of stuff like that. But he figured, what the big mistake was, that was a little schizophrenic with having multiple world leaders take over. Instead, let's just pick one world leader. And the one he picks is Genghis Khan. And so basically, you've got Genghis Khan in a super-powered clone body whose brain has been updated with all of modern technology, modern weaponry, in military tactics. So basically, Genghis Khan is updated to 2022. So one of the world's greatest, conquerors is, running Cobra right now. So, yeah, that's been rough. But yeah, so the 300th issue is coming up in a couple of weeks. That's going to wrap up Larry Hama's run. So that is going to be epic, I'm sure. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to work out here. So, hey, good to see you there, Johnny. I'm surprised you're not doing a ghost tour tonight. So, and thank you for sharing. I appreciate it, sir. So, yeah, if you're in the Nashville area, John Pikus does ghost tours, and you get some magic, you get some comedy, you get some history with it. So look it up, folks, if you're in the Nashville area there. So yeah, it's a good time had by all. He's been getting some great reviews, so you gotta check that out. So, and of course, so he also is the leader to all of us on the back of the cereal box. So if you check out the back of the cereal box Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern, there we go. So it's he's part of all of our little group of shows on here on the back of the Cereal Box Network. And of course, tomorrow at noon, finally, I'm on Ryan Permisson's And I Quote at 12 noon Eastern. I think it's on Facebook and YouTube. So very much looking forward to that one. Hang on. You're talking Godzilla tomorrow on Back of the Cereal Box. So there you go, all the kaiju fans. Of course, you guys got a lot to celebrate because it was Godzilla Day a couple of days ago, and then got the announcement of a brand new Godzilla film being produced in Japan, not a stateside film. So, and doing Will It Cereal? Okay, I'm confused and intrigued all at the same time. But yeah, so like I said, a brand new Godzilla film being produced in Japan. So I'm not sure if this is taking from the Shin Godzilla universe or anyway, but nonetheless. So Godzilla fans are very excited about it. You have very good reason to be. So all kinds of good stuff. But yeah, I'm going to be on Ryan Permisson's show, And I Quote tomorrow at noon. And so yeah, if you really want to sit and listen to what makes the old Fanatic tick and whatever, I'm on the hot seat, as Ryan says. So whatever kind of questions he's got for me, I'm very curious to see what's about. So but it'll be a good time. A couple of geeks just having fun conversations about all sorts of geeky things, I'm sure. So nonetheless, you guys have yourselves a wonderful week. Of course, I've thoroughly been enjoying Andor here. So I've got a little bit of catching up to do as well. But yeah, we've got lots of interesting things to talk about. Of course, next weekend, Black Panther opens up on Friday. So, yeah, I don't think we'll be talking about that next week because it's going to give everybody a chance to see it. But the week after, we're definitely going to do a deep dive on that one because I know I'll be seeing that one. Even if I had zero interest in it, my wife would be, dragging me, kicking and screaming because I think she might be more excited about than I am. But nonetheless, I'm looking forward to that. So, of course, you guys have any sort of other weekend events, any sort of fun, geeky things coming up here, let me know in the chat. Hit me up in the comments here. So, let me know all about that. I'll be glad to promote them because I love attending that sort of stuff there. I know there's, I think something's at Waverly. There's like a horror con at Waverly this weekend. I don't know too terribly much about that one, but, look that one up for horror fans. But, yeah. All kinds of good, fun, geeky things, whatever else. And of course, like and share the Fanatic Forum here with your friends. We want all the views here, and bring folks to the table here. With whatever geeky topics you want to bring up here, questions, comments, whatever else. Because I like getting on different, getting off the subject of things, whatever else here. So it's open forum, open for everybody. So, and of course, if you aren't interested so much in Facebook and YouTube or whatever else, of course, all of our podcasts are loaded up on Audible or Spotify, Google, Apple, Stitcher, anybody, all the audio podcasts, so you can listen to us on there as well. So, all right, well, you all have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all next time on the Fanatic Forum. Bye-bye.